The Colorado Buffaloes were dealt with some bad news before a must-win game against the Iowa State Cyclones.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So download the app today. We are also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to like, subscribe, and follow so that way you don't miss out on a moment of the coverage. The Colorado Buffaloes are having some major injury problems before what could be a very, very pivotal game for some certain coaches' jobs. They are also, I'm going to talk about why they need the win so badly. They're winless in Big 12 play. There's a hint. And then I'm going to talk about my biggest concerns for Colorado versus Iowa State. Like I said, I'm Kevin Borba, host of the show. And also I cover all things college football for Athlon Sports. So let's dive right into these injury issues. First and foremost, I think Colorado's injury reports are starting to look like a CVS list. I don't know why theirs is twice as long as everyone else's, but here's who's out. Hakeem Williams, the Florida State wide receiver transfer who he consistently gets a start, but he's not like a huge piece of the offense, which I find interesting. So clearly the coaches like him. They just haven't found a way to utilize him, which granted the passing game for Colorado has been rough, I think we could say. RJ Johnson, who is Colorado's highest graded corner, is out for, I think, the third or fourth straight game. I don't even remember the last time he played, but he's been out for a while. Could really use him considering how thin Colorado is at corner right now, how penalized they are. They need something to change, and I think they're just going to have to keep trotting out the same guys and hoping for the best. DeKalen Taylor and Simeon Price, both of them running backs, both of them have had moments, right? Simeon Price had a big run, I believe it was against Houston. DeKalen Taylor was sort of like he was the spark plug for this offense in the first couple of games. And all of a sudden, out. Savell Smalls, tight end, he's out. Phillip Houston, Tyler Brown, offensive linemen are both out. So, and the offensive line has been fine, so I'm not too concerned about that. Jack Castera, the wide receiver transfer from Utah State, former Buff himself, who's now back with the Buffs. So I guess he's like a current former / current Buff. He's out. He hasn't played all that much this season, if at all. Samuel Okunlola hasn't played at all this season. I won't say he's been a disappointment, but I mean, he hasn't played at all. So that's been disappointing to say the least. Tafik Thomas and Gabriel Lightfoot are both out. Gabriel Lightfoot posted the other day he had season-ending surgery, so I believe he's out for the year, if I'm not mistaken. And Tafik Thomas I think he was healthy last week, but not this week. So defensive tackles, they're thin again. The bright side is Anquan Barnes went from doubtful last week to questionable this week. Doubtful list, though, is where it gets concerning. Straylon Miller, who they just really sort of found a role for him on offense. It was like, cool, you're going to be a wildcat quarterback and our running back, and seemed that it was working so much better than force feeding him on bubble screens and stuff like that. Well, now he's banged up and is listed as doubtful. Isaiah Harge is doubtful. Carter Stoutmeyer, the safety, is doubtful, which I don't know who they turn to. They could go to Slaughter. They could go to Finiseth. Tafik Byard has the other safety spot locked up. But in terms of who replaces Stoutmeyer, I'm not sure. Arden Walker, the team's probable best pass rusher, most proven pass rusher, he's listed as doubtful. And questionable is Reggie Hughes, Amari McNeil, Anquan Barnes. And then probable is Keaton Wade and London Merritt. So injuries, I think realistically, this Colorado team has been banged up all year. Now, I know a lot of people are blaming the turf chips or the wood chips. I do think turf fields always inherently have a little bit more risk, as we've learned. And Colorado practices on turf for the most part. When they practice indoors, at least they practice on turf, they play on turf. So these guys are beaten up, right? And it begs the question, like, what's going on with the staff? Like, are we rehabbing guys well enough, or what's going on, right? Are we getting too aggressive at practice, not aggressive enough? Like, I don't know what the deal is, but Colorado has a lot of injuries. And this Iowa State team is vulnerable, but it's also not a team that you don't want to be in a position where you're going to be thin at defensive tackle. You're going to be thin at safety, right? This Iowa State team is not an elite running back or elite rushing team like they have been in years past. But Rocco Becht is a good quarterback, right? They have some good guys. He's a good player. They have some good receivers, playmakers, even though they lost two guys to the NFL this past year. And like Rocco Becht on the year, 1,400 yards passing, 9 touchdowns, 2 picks only, 65% completion percentage. And he's got a few guys that he likes to get the ball to, right? They have Brett Eskildon, I believe is how you say his name. Sophomore, has 18 catches for 321 yards. Chase Soul, who is a former Buff himself, actually, started his career at Colorado, then went to ECU for the past couple years, racked up over 1,400 yards there, or around 1,200 yards there, I mean. And now he's a 6'3". I mean, he's been 6'3", but now he's a big weapon for the Cyclones. And then you have Xavier Townsend, who transfers in from UCF and is probably on pace for the best season of his career, and a couple of tight ends as they usually have. So the tight end spot is usually effective for Colorado. And so not having a guy in Carter Stottmeyer, who mixed reviews on him, I think most of the time for most fans, he's a consistent, proven player, right? I think the injuries that I would circle the most as disappointing is the running back room, right? Just because it's so thin. Right, you have Dallin Hayden, who I think was the best running back last week. You have Michael Welch, but it's like, okay, where do we turn to now? Because we're going to be down to 2 guys, and I mean, this could, in a way, help Caden Salter stay on the field in the sense that, like, hey, we're banged up at running back, so we need his legs to be a part of the game plan. But last week, Michael Welch led the team in carries with 12, Dallin Hayden had 9, and Draylon Miller had 7. So you're pretty much down to 2 scholarship running backs, and Caden Salter is also probably going to at least play a role. I thought this would be a interesting time to put Julian Lewis in if they decided. Obviously, it's against a tough team, so don't want that. But I think Colorado is kind of in trouble with all these injuries, and I don't really know how to fix this issue, because it's just a matter of health, training, whatever it is. Sometimes injury issues are very much luck-based. Like the 49ers are frequently injured, it feels like. So very, very interesting situation with the injuries. I think Colorado's biggest task will be overcoming the running back issues and seeing how this offense looks, and that they revert back to throwing the ball 50 times a game. When we come back, we're going to talk about why the Buffs need to win so badly. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at Supply House. Now, if you're not familiar, when the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. You can order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. The real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. If you need parts for a fast project, Supply House has next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer. Join the free Trade Master program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. This episode of Locked On Buffs is also brought to you by our sponsors over at FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. What do I love about FanDuel so much? Well, for one, it makes football even more exciting. When you have a little something extra on the line, you find yourself sitting up more. You're like, oh, shoot, I got to lock in here. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. This episode of Locked On Buffs is also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Colorado needs a win. End of segment. No, just kidding. The Buffs badly need a win. They really do. I think this team has come up so close so many times this season that it's really starting to weigh on them. I do think that we're getting to the point in the year where if certain position groups start to struggle, certain players continue to struggle, if certain coaches continue to not see the desired, I guess, performance from their guys, I think jobs are at stake here. I really do. Not only can Colorado sort of go on a run here if they win this game, right? You win this game against a top 25 opponent, and then you have another probably top 25 opponent next week. And then the rest of your schedule is very manageable outside of Arizona State. But you could realistically go on a run here and all of a sudden find yourself in one of those bizarre tiebreaker scenarios for the Big 12, where it's like there's 7 teams that can win, or excuse me, that make the Big 12 championship if it rains on this day and a quarter gets heads if you flip it 3 times. Like, there's a possibility that Colorado can go on a run here, but it starts with 1 win, right? Before you could string together 6 wins, you have to get the 1 win, right? And so Colorado is sitting at 2-4, and there is a world where they could win out, right? There hasn't been a team all season that has manhandled Colorado and that has just been more talented than them, right? Houston blew out Colorado, but it wasn't because they were more talented, right? Colorado made a mistake. They also had some behind the scenes stuff going on. We'll put it at certain positions, but Colorado could certainly go on a run. They have yet to play a team that has just outclassed them, right? They were a touchdown away from beating TCU, right? Or at least at the end there. Before TCU got that last score to make it 35-21, it was 21-21. It was 21-28. Colorado had chances, right? You look back at that Georgia Tech game. Colorado had a chance to score on the last drive of the game. You look back at the BYU game. Colorado, they had a lot of chances, right? So they could go on a run here. In terms of coaches getting fired, I hate to talk about this because there is a human element to this aspect of sports that I think is widely ignored. I'll never forget, and I talk about this all the time, and you guys maybe get tired of it, but just in case you're new to the show, one of my first jobs out of college was covering Stanford. And my first year covering Stanford was David Shaw's last year. David Shaw was a legendary coach, winningest coach of all time in Stanford history, had led them to endless success, New Year's Six Bowls. They were consistently a top 10 team. But at this point, they had gone like 3-9 for 2, 3, possibly 4 years in a row. It was looking real bad, and there was just no signs of improvement. He wasn't making changes. And so I asked him, do you feel like you still deserve to be the head coach? And he was kind of stunned by the question, and I could feel the awkwardness because it's like, now that just changed our dynamic forever, because I'm the guy that asked him, like, hey, do you think you should be fired? And like, obviously he stepped down at the end of the year. So there is a human element to this. And when I talk about firing coaches, I don't take it lightly. To me, it means something. That's obviously their livelihood. Who knows if they'll get another opportunity elsewhere, right? There's so much that goes into when a coach gets fired. That being said, I think Colorado, specifically Coach Prime, will have to look around his staff and at least begin to evaluate, like, okay, why are we struggling? What are we struggling with? And what could be changed, right? I think offensive play calling wise, we've seen it throughout the year. Pat Shurmur has spiced up the offense a little bit, but the play calling has not been what it needs to be. I would say he's at risk of being on the chopping block, right? The linebackers situation has been atrocious for Colorado, right? They were bad 2 years ago. They were really good last year, but I think that was predicated on Levante Bentley and Nikhai Hill-Green just really stepping up. But this year, week in and week out, I see videos of Coach Prime yelling at the linebackers to step it up, yelling at Coach Hart, be like, hey, they're not doing this right. Like, that, you at one point or another, you have to make the tough decision. And I think that'll be the next step for Deion Sanders as a Power 4 coach, is being able to part ways with coaches that are, I don't want to say holding the program back, but I guess holding the program back, because that's where Colorado finds themselves, right? They are in a position where, sorry, some car just like drove right by my house. It was really weird. They're in a position where they need to figure out how to turn around their misfortunes and learn from their mistakes. Because right now, there has been no learning from mistakes. It is simply going out there, doing the same thing over and over again and hoping that it works out, right? And that's not what you need, or that's not what's going to work, right? So Colorado needs a win because, one, it gets the season back on track. Two, you're chasing a bowl game at this point, right? That should be the first goal for Colorado. Before you can even consider or utter the words Big 12 contention like I did a few minutes ago, you have to recognize, like, hey, we are fighting to get to those 6 wins. And right now, we need to win 4 of our last 6. This is a very tough one to win. But again, anybody is beatable in the Big 12. Colorado has been close. You just need to put it together. A win can turn things around. A win can help you go on a run, and maybe you finish the year 8-4, right? Iowa State last year, they had 3 losses and made it to the Big 12 title game, right? It is a possibility for a team to just sort of, I don't know, turn things around, and all of a sudden you're just in the mix, right? Iowa State had 2 losses, but they were a team that had 3 losses on the year and turned things around. Colorado was 9-4 last year and was very much in the mix for the Big 12 championship. So again, you win this game, the energy shifts in the locker room, confidence in certain players shifts, new stars emerge, right? There's so much that could go right. You lose this game, and I think you start having to have those tough discussions. And I don't want to be like, okay, fire this guy, fire this guy, fire this guy. Like, it's not what I'm meaning to do. It's just things have to change. And I would say you have to fire some coaches, make some changes at certain positions, because there's been linebackers taking a step back, corners have taken a step back, the offense has taken a huge step back, and you just sort of have to recognize like what can we do better, right? That also goes. It also, when it comes to Deion Sanders, it also coincides with his desire to build his roster through the transfer portal. Is that really the best way to do it, right? It worked at Jackson State because you were appealing to not bounce back guys, but former P5, P4 guys, group of 5 guys that have the potential and are more talented than everyone else. But you can't out talent everyone in the Power 4 and just be better, right? Like teams like Texas have tons of talent. Teams like Florida State has tons of talent, right? Clemson, they made it to the playoff last year, and I think they returned one of, if not the most production, or some of, if not the most production in college football this year. And they're bad this year, right? Being talented doesn't win you games, right? It comes down to coaching. It comes down to development. And I think Colorado, if they lose this game, it will continue a downward spiral into sort of having to figure out where they go next, right? I don't want to say the season will be a lost cause at this point, but it very much will feel like one, to say the least. When we come back, I'm going to talk about my 3 biggest concerns for Colorado when they face Iowa State. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at Mazda. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS top safety pick plus awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how we craft every model. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. This episode of Locked On Buffs is also brought to you by our sponsors over at Quo. One of the top tools that helps make a huge difference for business owners is Quo, formerly OpenPhone. It's the same great business phone system you've heard me talk about before, just with a new name. And here's why it matters. Every missed call is money left on the table. When customer conversation counts, you need a phone system that keeps you connected 24/7. Quo is the #1 business phone system that streamlines customer communications. It works right through an app on your phone or computer. So no more carrying 2 phones or relying on a landline. It makes your solo operator job a lot easier because when you're part of a larger team, Quo makes it easy to stay responsive and professional. See why over 90,000 businesses trust Quo, formerly OpenPhone. Get started for free and get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/lockedoncollege. It's QUO.com/lockedoncollege. And if you get existing numbers with another service, Quo will port them over at no extra charge. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. Welcome back to the Locked On Buffs. Appreciate y'all for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Concern time. The Buffs play Iowa State, top 25 opponent. Colorado has only beaten one top 25 opponent in the Deion Sanders era, and it was TCU in the very first game of the Deion Sanders era. They since have lost, I think it's 9 straight against ranked opponents. Iowa State's ranked number 22 in the country. They're favored by 2.5 at the time of recording. And ESPN's FPI gives Colorado a 36.9% chance. So Iowa State is an overwhelming favorite, according to the computers. But the odds makers, the people in Vegas, they're like, not so fast. This is going to be a close one. So that tells me that something is wrong with Iowa State, right? Whether it's their secondary being banged up and not so good, whether it's the fact that their kicker that's good from like 65 yards can't play. Something's wrong with Iowa State. Now, there's a few things that stand out to me as big concerns for Colorado. For one, I got to go with the running backs, right? Going from a nice rotation of Dallin Hayden, Draylon Miller, Micah Welch to Dallin Hayden, Micah Welch, and having Isaiah Harge out, which he's not a running back, but he's taking some snaps there, right? The running back room is just so thin, right? Simeon Price is out. Kalen Taylor, I talked about them earlier. Where does Colorado go to get production in the run game? Because I don't trust the passing game enough to carry this team. And if this game is going to be a shootout, because the over-under is around 51.5 right now, so shootout-esque, you need people to put up points on the board. And I don't trust Caden Salter to really be that guy to just not make the mistakes that he's been making, right? So the run game is a concern of mine. In terms of defense, the biggest concern, the secondary. I know it's shocking. I thought they would be a strength of the team. I said that they had potential to be the best in the Big 12, and egg on the face here. I'll hand up. You got me. I was wrong, right? Colorado's secondary is one of the more penalized ones in the country. They are just simply, they've been a disaster, and I don't know why. I thought DJ McKinney got a ton of great experience last year being sort of the Robin to Travis Hunter's Batman, but now he's the Batman, and now he's committing a lot of penalties. Preston Hodge has struggled in man coverage, and they don't really, their best corner PFF grade wise is RJ Johnson. He hasn't played in like a month. And this corner group is just unreliable. They're inconsistent, untrustworthy. Like you just can't trust them to not commit a penalty. You can't trust them to stick to their assignment. And it's just really difficult to win games when Iowa State's going to air that thing out, right? They got Chase Soule, former Buff. They have a few guys who they just want to air that thing out to. And I'm really concerned about Colorado's secondary, right? Coach Prime the other day said that 95% of corners are playing not to get beat and 5% are playing to make plays. I think Colorado's corners they're not only in that 95%, but they're playing not to mess up. And it's just making them worse. They look like they're playing so tense. There's no fear if you're an opposing offense when you face the secondary, where it's like, oh, like obviously when you have Travis Hunter, it's like, okay, that whole side of the field's gone. There's not even a close, like, oh, I got to be careful because so-and-so's over there. Like that doesn't happen with this Colorado team. And the secondary is a concern of mine because Rocco Becht wants to air that thing out. When he's clicking, he's probably one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12, if not the country. And the secondary for Colorado has just been so brutal. My third and final concern, if Colorado gets out to a lead, can they hold on to it? They've yet to have that killer instinct. They've yet to be able to just put their throats on someone's neck and be like, you know what? We're not letting you back in this game. We're not. And it's come back to bite them 3 times, right? They do not have a killer instinct. And I don't know if that's something you develop. I don't know if that's something that just randomly happens. But I promise you it's going to be difficult to just randomly happen upon it against Iowa State. So those are my biggest concerns for your Colorado Buffaloes heading into week 7. I do think Colorado loses this game. Unfortunately, I'll talk about it more tomorrow on the Locked On Buffs, Locked On Cyclones crossover, just because I don't trust Colorado's offense, and that's what it comes down to. Right? I don't think they can make enough plays. I don't like that they're going to be missing a huge chunk of the run game. I don't trust Caden Salter. I don't trust the play calling. This Colorado team needs to see some changes. They need to win. I don't know if they'll get it. You guys let me know what you think. I appreciate you for making me your first listen today. We're free and available. Or you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. I'll see y'all tomorrow.